So you have to start the podcast, but I challenge you that you can't start it with really excited to have you all here today.
And super excited. Welcome to Critics Anonymous, the podcast where two knuckleheads who have no business critiquing anything give you their opinion on everything.
For all of you new to the podcast, instead of discussing a different topic in each of our weekly episodes, we've changed it up and we are going to be discussing one topic or theme and expand on it over the course of multiple episodes.
Our current cycle is around Batman and the Joker and the chaotic bromance they share.
Last week, we discussed all things comics with the podcrasher himself, Parker Thomas.
This week, we wanted to discuss the portrayals of these two contrasting characters in the movies throughout the years.
Lights, camera, action. Today, we're starting the podcast by not saying super excited for you to be here.
We are not excited for you to be here.
We are not excited for all of you to be here.
We are mundanely thrilled that you are joining us in today's episode.
Only slightly eager. Okay, side note, but if you guys haven't listened to like our last 6 episodes, we did a review.
No, like our last year's worth of
last year of episodes.
I'm pretty sure we say super excited.
We're super excited for everybody to be here.
Which we are, but
don't have to say it that way every time.
Yeah.
Gotta vary it up.
Just so you all know, we sound fake saying we're super excited. It's genuine. It just sounds fake. And I'm tired of saying that phrase. That and what do we say? Our least favorite phrases of this year are new normal and unprecedented.
Oh, unprecedented. If I have to hear unprecedented again.
And now our new normal will not be super excited.
Only moderately kind of excited.
Halfway through the cycle, talking about Batman and Joker. That lovely.
I feel like we have done some good content so far.
I have not done this much research on Batman in my entire life.
I know. It's a little crazy. I mean, I was kind of thinking about it. These are fictional characters that have backstories that are deeper than my life.
Yeah. When we're researching them, like they were president of the United States back in the American Revolution. Like, what the heck?
I don't think I did this much research on any president ever.
Oh my God. I know. I feel like I could go back and do a PhD on these two characters because of all the research I've been doing. And I would never have done any this level of effort in any of my other projects while going to school.
But you have to admit, we're halfway through this. I told you at the beginning of so at the beginning of all of this, we were trying to get this whole idea of like, oh, let's do a cycle put together. But then we got into the moment of like, holy F word, what the hell are we going to do our cycle on? So I made this joke because I'm a nerd and I was like, let's do it on Batman and Joker. I just watched the Batman and Joker. And we had this moment of like, hey, wait, that's actually kind of a good idea. But you were a little reluctant on it because you're like, it's comic books and pop culture and blah, 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 blah.
And I actually think I even made the comment of, oh, that'll be an easy one to start with. And not that it was difficult because there is actually a lot of content. But that is the problem, is there is a lot of content.
Yeah, it's not easy in the way of, oh, we could just slap this together and it's going to go well.
Like you can read a Wikipedia page and be like, oh, I'm an expert now. This is like you have to do Wikipedia page upon Wikipedia page. Like,
last week kicked my ass. I'm not going to lie.
Oh my God.
Kicked my ass.
I started to try to do comics and I was like, I'm going to just touch the surface and walk away.
Doesn't it make you more excited to do comics though now? You like know all this stuff about it. You can like walk in and actually have like some semblance of knowing how to
pick a comic.
Yeah, I guess. I'm going to a comic book store next week.
Ooh.
I got the new Joker series.
He's going to have a bat outing.
This is gonna be my first one in like forever. I haven't been to a comics. Well, okay. Not that COVID really has affected this because I hadn't been to a comic book store outside of like Zia Records, but I don't really consider that a comic book store.
It's like
an everything pop culture store.
Yeah.
So I haven't been to an actual functional comic book store in a long time. So I'm really excited.
I think it's been 4 years for me. And I was like just going in because I was tagging along. I was just like, these are comic books. That's cool.
Yeah. The problem is I already bought the comic books. So technically, I should just be able to go in and grab it and leave.
I know you well enough to know that you're going to...
We'll see if that actually happens.
You're not going to just leave. You're going to hang out for a little bit.
If my beautiful wife has to go with me, there's a good chance that I'll probably have to go in and just leave. Doesn't go with me, I might be there for a little while.
Lord help your wallet.
Yeah. Parker was right when he was saying that it's an expensive medium. You got to be really committed to it.
Yeah.
But I did like what he said. Like, invest in the ones that are worth it to you.
Of course.
And don't go buy all of it.
Yeah. So if you get anything from our podcast, if you really want to start something, make sure you really like it.
we really liked Batman and Joker, and then shot ourselves in the foot for trying to do the podcast on Batman and Joker.
Yep.
But with that being said, we are on episode 4. And
and I think this is the one thing that probably the most common person knows in regards to Batman is the movies.
Yes. And actually, I'll probably say, being that I'm like in a little bit of the media world, the movies are, well, I said this last week too. The movies are kind of where I started too.
Yeah.
And
it's an easy way to start anything superhero or fictional world.
Because really, when the movies started coming out, obviously Marvel exploded on the scene first, and then DC kind of followed suit and had their extended universe kind of come out. But even without the DCEU, like the Nolan Batman and all of that stuff, I got really interested in it because there's a lot of characters that I wasn't totally familiar with. So obviously Batman and Joker was like the obvious. Everybody knows Batman and Joker. But the first Nolan movie was with Batman and Scarecrow. And I knew nothing about Scarecrow. So I wonderful world of YouTube, hours on YouTube. Who's Scarecrow? And then I discovered all these guys, and they have channels all dedicated to this stuff. That was a pit that you could get sucked into real bad. So
yeah, if there's definitely one thing I've learned about this universe is it's a lot bigger under the surface. Like,
oh, massively.
Because I found myself doing the same thing. I was like, how can the same person have so many enemies? And I'm like, the DC was like, let me play you the song of my people. And the song came with a visual and a dance. It was great. But yeah, the movies, I mean, they've been around since the 40s. You just mentioned Marvel exploding, but Batman movies have been around
forever.
For, almost 100 years. Can you believe that?
Oh, that's weird to think about.
That it is weird. But yeah, we have, so I mean, the movies started in the 40s with the serial movies, which, do you know what those are?
A little bit. I haven't watched them though. I know that you watched them this week.
Yeah. So if you don't know what a serial movie is, back in the day, which I'm sorry, but
was a Wednesday.
Actually, I think they were Fridays, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll ruin my joke.
Oh,
Dane Cook.
It still works. Yeah.
Remember the Dane Cook craze?
Yeah. What is it? What is that joke? The Krav Maga of comedy or whatever that stupid joke is. I can't think of it. Yeah. Another movie reference. But no, so they used to do, it was like the weird combination of a movie and a series. Like you could almost count it as a series instead of a movie. But these were shown in movie theaters. You had to go to the theater every week because no one had television sets at home at the time. Like no one obviously could stream it on Netflix or watch it on Hulu the next day, which thinking about it, I'm like, wow, how did people survive back then? But
ironically, we got a little dose of that tonight, right before podcasting or attempting to podcast tonight. All of our power went out. So we were on hold and definitely was just like sitting in our dark apartment with my wife. And I was like,
we were about to grab our chisels and find a stone wall and just chisel our episode onto
I know this is totally off subject, but do you just have these moments like in the power outages moments where you feel like the biggest dumbass on the planet? Because I had this moment where I literally was sitting there and I was like, oh, well, the power's out. We'll just watch the DVDs that I have on the thing because, I'll just put them in the player. And that, no, that's Wi-Fi. That when the Wi-Fi goes out, that's when you do that. Power, you're just completely effed. Like you have nothing. There's no TV. There's no Xbox. You're in a pitch black apartment that you can do jack shit with.
I can sort of one up you on this. I was sitting in the living room, in my living room, not the same living room as him, different living room, same neighborhood, because we lost power in the whole neighborhood.
Yep.
And so sitting in the living room, the power goes out. And I'm like, okay, well, no power, no nothing, whatever. And then I'm like, I have candles. That'll be fine. It's dark.
Gotta find the candles. That's the issue.
If it weren't for the stupid flashlight on my phone and my phone being in my hand, I would have been fumbling around in the dark in my apartment trying to find not just the candles, a lighter. Mm-hmm. And we all know when you ever need a lighter, you can never find one.
But when you don't need one, they're always there.
Everywhere. So yeah, that was the fun one. If I hadn't had my light, I would have been SOL on light.
Moral of the story is we had some first world realizations real hard today trying to just get a podcast put together.
Yeah. Talk about the Dark Knight Rising. Dang. Came upon us real fast.
Yep.
So you used to have to go every week to watch these movies. And it was always like, come back next week to the same theater and see the continuing saga of Batman and Robin. Like, it was like really stupid cheesy now, I think, but like you gotta think back to like the 40s and like
Just seeing anything on a screen in the 40s was amazing.
yeah.
So it didn't like they didn't understand what kitschy weird was because there was nothing at that point to base it upon.
Yeah.
This was just revolutionary, like amazing stuff that they were seeing.
Yeah. But it was, I mean, theaters back then in the same place that you got like your news,
Yep.
commercials, like it's all in a movie theater. So that's what these movies were. And yeah, I did get to watch them and we'll get into that later, but that's where it started. And they were one of the first major movies, if you will, and probably one of the first superhero movies. So it's just crazy to think that Batman goes back that far because obviously the comics had to have come out already, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means the comics are even older. So it's crazy. And then we don't have another movie until the 60s when we have the cheesy 60s Batman and Robin with Adam West.
If you actually think about it, the comics were around for a long time, but Batman actually wasn't around that long. Batman became such a popular character that he went straight from the comic books and they made him into one of the big reasons that so many Batman movies has been made and why for so long the only live action the live action superhero movies that were made were Batman were because he was really the only superhero that they could functionally kind of sell on the big screen for a long time.
Well, and I think it's because he just had a bunch of gadgets. He didn't have like superpowers and
there were limitations obviously with like film and all of that stuff. You know, we don't, you know, you look at the Marvel movies that everything's exploding all the time. That was not possible in 1940, you know, but yeah, I think it's really interesting to just see how fast. I mean, I think we said the True Detective comics, which is where Batman was introduced, was really like late 30s that he came, and then the actual like Batman #1 comic came out in I think 1940 exactly.
I think in the 40s, yeah.
So you're talking it's really just a few years before it went from like comic to big screen, which is a pretty cool feat.
Yeah, I think now it would be done faster than it did back then. That was probably fast for that time to go from a comic strip to
movies in that time took years.
Yep.
Like years. They shoot movies in months now. It took years to put movies together.
Thank you, CGI.
Yeah.
I bet you those graphic artists like do make just as much as the actors because they're probably the ones doing more of the acting than the actual actors.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Yeah, the CGI houses that do some of those Marvel. It's funny because like you look at some of those movies and it's like nothing is real anymore. It's like not even the suit. You know, the first Iron Man, he was actually wearing a physical suit for most of that, you know?
Yep.
Even though if like they CG'd part of it and all of that stuff. But like the last Avengers movie, I'm pretty sure he just had white dots on him the whole time.
Yeah,
And
I'm sure most of them, that was what they had
Oh,
on.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm sure even Thor's hair had the same thing. So yeah, we go to the 60s and we have groovy Batman. And then there's like nothing again until the late 80s, which is I'm going to count as the 90s because it was 89, which is where you get like the Michael Keaton ones and the ones that you and I grew up with.
Yep.
The ones that include your favorite
Bat nipples.
The bat nipples and the bat butts. And then from there, we again don't see any more Batman really until the mid 2000s, which is the Christopher Nolan, which is what I guess what most people know now.
Isn't it kind of funny? Okay, this is going to make you feel really old, but
because I haven't done that to myself already.
Yeah. It's amazing to me. So the Nolan Batmans came out in 2008-ish. I think it was like 8 to 2012 or something like that. And it's amazing to me that we are at a point now that there's a generation of kids who will say that the Nolan Batmans was their Batman.
Yeah,
you know,
like what they grew up with.
That's what they grew up with. And we're like sitting back here and we're like, oh yeah.
And we're like bat nipples.
We had Tim Burton Batmans. Woo! You know, like very comic booky and which was cool. I love those movies, but it's cool to see generations of Batman lovers kind of be able to associate to different. Because I think I love, and we'll get into this, but I love the Nolan Batmans. Like I would say if I were to rate my favorite Batman, that's probably top, if not close to top. There's a nostalgia with the Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, honestly, even the George Clooney one, as much as I make fun of bat nipples and all that crap, there's something just fun about watching that movie. It's a ridiculous movie and it gives me so much nostalgia of my 90s childhood that like, I'll watch it. I don't even care. Like I make fun of it every time I do, but it's fantastic and I love watching it. And it's purely just because I love the nostalgia of it. So,
and I feel like like you just said, there's going to be like today's kids who are growing up with the Nolan ones are going to have their same little like nostalgic feels when they watch some of these movies as well. So
Batfleck and Henry Cavill are going to be the next generation.
Oh, so the other thing, we haven't even brought up is we have all these live actions, right? There have been animated movies too. And I think that's what's interesting about the Batman universe is they've been in animation, live action, television series, obviously comic series. At least one person, dresses as Batman or Joker for Halloween every year. Like
might or might not be me. I may have done Joker like 3 years in a row. Sorry.
See, and I had a brother who did Batman and the other brother did Scarecrow. So so it's a thing. So yeah, we still have the animated movies too, which were, again, nostalgic for us, strangely dark for even an animated movie. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's funny going back and watching some of the animated movies now as an adult and realizing how dark some of them. They got away with a lot more in the 90s than they do now.
Yeah,
like I'm just being real. There's a lot more. They crunch down on some things for the kid shows a little bit.
Oh yeah, I totally. That's why it's partly like hard for me to watch today's like kids shows because I'm like, this is super cheesy, but I grew up with like Rocko's Modern Life and Ren and Stimpy and
Oh, Ren and Stimpy.
So
classic.
But I think the crazy thing, and I was like blown away by this, which is funny because when I saw this little stat, I was like, what? But then when you think about it, like it makes sense. If you adjust all of the total earnings from all Batman movies, like I guess you could say from Inception, it's $2,783,118,504.
That is disgusting.
That is if you.
So really, the solution to all of U.S. debt issues is Batman. That's really what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just make Batman movies galore, and you'll make back all of the U.S. debt that we are in debt right now. Just trillions of dollars.
Yeah, it's over $2.5 trillion for all movies. And you know what the crazy thing is? It's only the fourth highest grossing film series in North America.
That actually doesn't surprise me.
But it's still, again, when I saw that number, I was like, what? There's no way. But then when you actually think about all the movies and
over 100 years too.
Yeah. It makes sense. I'm like, holy crap, that's crazy.
Well, on that disgusting note of $2 trillion,
let's drink our cheap beer.
We're going to move into our next segment. But before we move into the next segment, we have to do our wonderful back label advertisement. For this week's beer, we have the wonderful Flyjack Hazy IPA from Firestone Walker Brewing Company.
Everything you wanted from a hazy IPA with nothing to weigh you down. This is Flyjack, Firestone Walker's 96-calorie beer. Maximum flavor, minimal calories, no compromises. Brewmaster Matt and his team are in passionate pursuit of the perfect beer and never satisfied. With their mastery of hops and thirst for innovation, they are on a quest to provide you with incredible flavors and impeccable beers. So that was stupid. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Struggled a little bit to read that one.
It was stupid. That's all I'm going to say. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it's Brewmaster Matt now. There was a last name on there, but he did not want to read it. Brewmaster Matt.
I did. I tried 3 times to read it, and
it was a hard name. Brynoldston.
No, there's not even a T, and we're saying it with a T. That's how stupid that name is. Oh. Sorry, Matt. I'm sorry. Your name sucks.
We are not going to be endorsed by the Flyjack Hazy IPA because apparently Matt's going to be really mad at us. I will say something. 96 calories? Do you really believe it's 96 calories?
Yeah, because I can taste it.
It does taste a little
It doesn't taste like an IPA because it doesn't have the same
bitey,
or not that, but like even the same like thickness, I guess you could say, of a beer, like the fullness of a beer or of a IPA, I should say.
This may sound really gross, but it kind of feels like it's if you take like a real IPA and then half and half it, like 1-to-1 with like a Coors Light. Like that's kind of the vibe.
It's like a watered down IPA. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And I'm not saying that that's bad. No, I'm lying. I'm saying that's bad.
Yeah, this is an IPA. I guess for our our environment for Arizona. This is an IPA I think you could drink like outside by the pool and be okay.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I don't know if this is what I'm going to buy if I go to the store, though. That's my issue.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. So I think, I mean, the label itself is pretty simple, pretty chill, laid back, nothing too crazy. The beer itself, again, nothing.
I'm going to just go straight down the middle, a good 5. I feel like a 5 just gives it kudos, but if you just want a good straight down the middle, go sit by the pool beer, go get it. It's worth that.
See, I'm not a big IPA person. For my standards of an IPA, albeit not the greatest or the highest, I'm offended somehow by this. So,
well, I think the thing, like, I just took a drink of it, and the thing that it's like, where it doesn't sit on your palate like an IPA. You know what I mean? Like, the thing that's nice about IPAs is you get that little bit of bite at the front. You get it's like a little weighty going down. You know, it's just got this really nice thing to it. And I'm not saying everybody likes that. I'm just saying like that's the IPA thing. You know, this is not that. It's like a little bit of bite on the front, so they're like IPA, stamp it IPA, but it's not really weighty at all. And then you gulp it down, and it's got that kind of like, I don't want to say acidic, but I don't know a better word to actually like do it. It's like a little like acidic,
like carbonation-y. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm going a 4 overall 4.
All right. Official rating.
The best thing this had going for it is they conserve H2O and they minimize waste. That was the best thing that they have going for this beer.
Well, that's good. Climate is important.
Yep. The best way for me I can explain this beer to me is, you try like meatless options or meatless alternatives. Yeah, you're like, this is good. It tastes okay, but
I don't know if I agree with that though, because like I have that Impossible sandwich or whatever from Starbucks the other day, and that crap was dope. It was so good.
What I'm saying is like you can eat these things and be like, that's good, but it's not meat. Like you can taste that it's not meat. I can taste that it's not meat.
I don't know that Impossible sound. That'd be hard if you put 1-to-1 with that Impossible. We're getting on something else. Okay,
yeah,
we're at a 4.
Either
4.
way,
5.
this is a 4.5. Yes,
4.5. It made it. But it didn't.
And
so
we paid money, so we're still going to drink it.
That's the real. You don't let the beer, no matter how bad it is, you don't let the beer go to waste. Moving on to our next segment, talking more Batman and Joker. There is one section-ish that I thought it'd be kind of cool to just dive in a little bit.
Sure.
Animated. You talk about the animated.
Yeah.
Movies a little bit. Definitely some nostalgia. I don't think we need to get like super deep into, I guess, the traditional animated Batman series from like the 90s that we grew up with. I think we'll get into a bunch of that in next week just because of obviously Mark Hamill and
Kevin Conroy.
Yes, because Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, obviously like legendary for Batman and Joker voices and all of that stuff. So they played in a bunch of the animated movies as well as the animated series. So
video games too. They're the same.
Yes.
So if it wasn't an actor, like a real live actor, it was them.
Yes. They win most of the voice acting anything. So, but mainly one movie that I never actually put in the background, but it is a Batman movie if you think about it.
Yep. And it was released theatrically. It
was the Lego Batman movie. What are some thoughts around that?
So I'll admit I didn't watch it, but I did watch some clips of it because it is, I will say, kind of lumping all animated movies together, because they're the only ones that actually that are consistently Batman and Joker.
Yeah,
all the Batman movies are Batman and Joker, and I mean like all like the big ones, not like the ones that were released like straight to video. Like all the big ones were Batman and Joker, and so this one followed suit. But this one, what's funny I was watching it, I was like, they basically stole our cycle. They're literally talking about the bromance between Batman and Joker. Uh-huh. Like there's this scene where Batman basically tells the Joker like, you're not my favorite villain or something like that, and the Joker is like hurt.
Yeah,
like he's played by Zach Galifianakis, so like I mean that alone you're already like, what? That's a joke in itself, haha. But like I'm like watching these clips and I'm like, damn it. They stole our thunder. So basically, if you want to,
technically we stole their thunder because we did our stuff after them.
No, that movie, in my opinion, came after us. So they stole our thunder. So I mean, if you guys want to, I guess maybe more entertaining and animated version of our podcast, go watch this movie. But I still thought the storyline was really of course cheesy, is played for kids, but it's still it like pokes fun at these two characters, sort of the way we have even in our everyday conversation about these two characters. And I liked it. I thought it was kind of, again, I haven't watched the whole thing. I've just watched clips, but I did like it.
It's actually the reason I thought it was great to actually like talk about it, because of the fact that they laid so heavily into the bromance thing. And we're going to get into this, like, well, I think our last episode is going to be a big wrap up, and we're going to really dive deep into the bromance element. But if you really just want to have a fun time just kind of watching the bromance of Batman and Joker, it really is a fun movie to watch that happen. And on top of it, it is a good movie. Like, it's weird saying that, but Will Arnett as the Batman voice.
He has the best Batman voice.
It's great. I mean, it's really good, and it's executed really well. Like, it's got this fun vibe to it. It totally has this like different spin to it, and it's worth at least going and watching it. It's fun. If you have kids, definitely go watch it. They'll love it, But if you want to see a weird way to kind of see a lot of what we're talking about with the Batman bromance, that's a fun movie to kind of accomplish that.
Yeah. It takes the more playful and fun approach to, I think, what the Killing Joke does, which is the darker, more spooky side of this bromance. So it's a fun, like, opposite but not of the same story. So it's really, I don't know, it's stupid and cheesy, and I was kind of mad that I was wanting to watch the movie after.
It's stupid and cheesy, but it's worth the watch.
It is. Outside of that movie, I mean, we have The Mask of the Phantasm and The Killing Joke, which we've talked about. The Killing Joke, I think, extensively by this point in the cycle. The Mask of the Phantasm is where you see Oracle become Oracle, and where again you learn a little bit more about the Joker and Batman. But I think outside of those, the other interesting thing to really discuss is that there was a whole point in time where there was all these movies like pitched that didn't come to fruition. They were some animated and some live action. And you know what's funny? We've already mentioned it, but Bat Nipples, it's because of that movie that they canceled them all. So there's
that movie that kind of like killed the Batman franchise for a while.
So, and I thought that was interesting because when you look at the data though on it, all the data was saying that actually that movie didn't do that bad. It was just ridiculed because of things like the butt shots and the nipples and the cheesy stuff. The actual movie made money. That's the crazy thing.
Well, but this is one thing that you always have to consider when you go into and honestly, that was the first maybe real iteration of this starting to be a trend in just superhero movies in general. Okay. Yeah. Every Marvel movie that gets made from here on out is pretty much guaranteed bank.
Yeah.
Because people are going to go watch it.
Yep.
Kids are going to watch it. Adults are going to watch it. Our generation's going to watch it. It's guaranteed bank. Now, whether the movie is actually good or not is a different discussion. There's been a number of Marvel movies that haven't quite hit the mark, and there's a bunch of them that really blew people away. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that you kind of get into. But that was the Batman and Robin kind of thing was the first kind of iteration of showing that, like, yes, we made money on this. This was really successful, but you're almost kind of playing off of the success of the previous Batman movies.
Yeah.
Because you're just pulling in a big crowd of people who love the character, and they're going to go watch that regardless. So they already have your money at that point. But the actual movie itself, and I think what they were worried about, and this is really the biggest thing, is like, are they going to be able to come back and be successful for the next one?
Yeah. So before we go into that, because that, why don't we back up to the movies that I guess helped make that movie successful? Our favorite 90s movies. Our Batman movies.
So good.
Well, I guess we can also talk about the 60s movies, which I did watch.
I know nothing about the 60s movies.
Okay, so like I said, I watched the serial films from the 40s. Super cheesy. Again, like you mentioned, like, that was good back then because there was nothing really to compare it to.
Batman had no armor. It was just him in like spandex, and yeah.
I don't even know if it was more like felt. Like he looked like a Muppet. Like it was like, DIY mom made your costume for Halloween type of like cut it out of like construction paper.
Did he have the yellow emblem?
No, it was black.
It was
because
the
it was black
one?
and white, so you had to just use.
Oh, maybe it was. Oh man, I can't remember. It's always
So-
hard to remember which ones have the yellow emblem.
So I think the yellow emblem. I think it was just the animated one that had the yellow emblem.
Was that the only one? I thought they did it in one movie, but I don't remember.
I don't think. I don't think any of the other ones. They're all the black one. But so I watched it, and it was done. It was done more like a series. So it played off of the previous episode and all of that. So I thought that was good. Again, nothing to compare it to at the time. Then you move into the 60s. It's stereotypical 60s. Like you have the weird cutaways where it's like a dancing woman and her like
Oh jeez.
like swim and all that stuff. And then it's Batman and Robin running, but not really running. Like you can tell it's a screen behind them.
Right.
But that's where I think you see the characters. I would say the difference between the 40s movies to the 60s movies is you see the characters get more animated and more lively. And that includes the villains. You see, because the 40s were all of the mob type villains. They weren't any of the like the Jokers or the Scarecrows, or it was all like, the mob boss, and they had the funky names. Like there was one called the Wizard, but like it was just a man in a helmet with a cape, and he was set on his whole thing was like being able to control trains and automobiles from remotely and all that stuff.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, right. So in the 60s you have the characters like the Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin, who are more like animated and more like fun in a weird villainy way. You can play more into the character than just like sleeping with the fishes. So like we're gonna rob the bank. I don't know if I said that.
That was the voice that we needed for your little back label advertisement.
Well, we can re-record it later. But no, so you see them get more animated, but it's still again super cheesy. Better obviously than the 40s movies. There is a lot more sound effects, but it's also I think more comic-y, because that's where you see like the punch, and then you see like the blam, and you see like the kick, and then you see like the flap, and all that stuff.
The 60s are where they really tried to capture the comic book thing. And I said this in last week's episode. There's something with comic books that you just can't capture on the big screen. And I think
without it being really like,
it just there's just something that doesn't work about it. So
that's what that's the 60s movie. And then now we get into the 90s, which I think most people now know so well, where you get probably maybe outside of Christian Bale, the only other person to play Batman for so long in a movie series, and that would be Michael Keaton. What is your thoughts on those movies?
So again, I go back to what I said before. Nostalgia reigns hard on anything that I'm going to say. So I don't think it's really fair to totally say that I think that they're the best movies, but I love them. I mean, I just, there's something awesome and special about them. One of the things that I think worked really well is one, just the director Tim Burton doing most of those movies. Did he do all the way through?
I think he just did.
He did
Batman and Batman Returns. So anything with Michael Keaton, he did.
I thought he did Val Kilmer too.
Outside of that,
I can't remember what it. Either way, the point being, I don't think he did the last one with Poison Ivy and George Clooney and Batman and Robin and all that stuff. But there was something that was amazing about the way that Tim Burton portrayed Gotham. And again, we talked about this in multiple of our past episodes, but a huge part of Batman is Gotham. If you don't have a solid Gotham, then there's not really a point to Batman.
Yeah, I think, Gotham itself is its own character. And I think you're right. Tim Burton's movies were the first to kind of show Gotham as a character than just a setting.
Yeah, it had a feel and a vibe and a culture, and you felt that through the movie. I mean, just the big, tall kind of Gothic buildings and just, I don't want to say it was comic booky, but it was definitely Tim Burton. You know what I mean? Like, you look at a lot of the other movies that he's done, and you're like, okay, is he?
It's like real life fantasy, if that's a thing. Like, that no building would ever be made that way, but it still is a building, and it's not like that weird of a building.
Yeah. So I think that was just the stuff that really sold me on it really hard. It's just the landscape in which those movies were built, I thought was unbelievably solid. Now I'm gonna say that something that everybody is gonna hate. and I don't really care. But Michael Keaton is actually not my favorite Batman. I think he did a great job as Batman. I'm so happy that they're bringing him back in the Flashpoint thing to do kind of the multiverse Batman thing. I think he was an awesome Batman. One of the top for sure. But in the sense of what I think of in the Batman realm, Michael Keaton isn't exactly that. And it's not necessarily the Batman side of it that kind of didn't sell it for me. It was the Bruce Wayne side of it that didn't sell it for me. And so that was the one thing with him as Batman that I was like, okay. But again, it didn't matter because the universe, the story that they built, or with Gotham, the people that they put around him, that's what made it all work. I say all of that, but I also don't know if there's anybody except Michael Keaton who could have done that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So me saying that I don't think he was the best Batman in the holistic sense of that is very singular critique on that. But at the same time, he is Batman of Tim Burton Gotham City to me. Like, I can't see anybody else in that role. So it's a weird thing. Like, I don't know how to like juggle that weird back and forth. Val Kilmer, I thought did a great job. I would have loved to see him get another shot at maybe another movie. But that just ended up not working out. Weird thing, I make fun of the George Clooney Batman all the time because it's just totally ridiculous. But there's stuff about that movie that I love too. I mean, I loved, I think if I'm remembering correctly, was Poison Ivy in that one?
Yep.
Yeah, Poison Ivy was in that one and Freeze was in that one.
Yep. And Batgirl.
And Batgirl. The Batgirl was okay.
But see, that one was weird because that one, Batgirl wasn't Jim Gordon's daughter.
It was Alfred's niece. Yeah. Again, we kind of talked about there's lots of different, stories and iterations of all that stuff. So the thing I guess I thought George Clooney was actually probably a better Bruce Wayne and a worse Batman than Michael Keaton, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
And I really think that they chose George Clooney to be Batman because of the chin. They wanted the chin and the cowl, and they were like, okay, it's going to look great, and it did.
Well,
Said the suit was bad. Who put nipples on the freaking suit? It's weird.
I don't know, but I think also he was also one of the big name actors at the time. That I'm sure that played a lot into it. Going back to the Val Kilmer one, he's another one though that I think very Michael Keaton-y in that Batman, but Bruce Wayne still played it very dark, very very, I won't say depressed, but just kind of like aloof, very like, I don't want to be around people, which I guess Bruce Wayne probably doesn't want to be around people, but even when he was around people, you could tell you just could tell it wasn't the same like billionaire by day.
Well, and the thing that they just didn't really, I mean, they kind of did. They alluded to, I think Val Kilmer did a little bit better job, but the billionaire playboy philanthropist thing, like it's kind of the Bruce Wayne character, you know, and I just don't know if they really touched on it. Yeah, but I mean, at the end of it all too, if you looked at both Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer, they were older Batmans. They were older Bruce Waynes. So maybe they were trying to put it out there that like, oh, he was done with that. He was through that. And he's not doing that. But I don't know. There's a portion of that I think it was missed. I think the mark was missed just a little bit and wasn't kind of where it needed to be.
But even then though, if you think about those movies, they don't play Bruce Wayne nearly as often as they play Batman.
Yeah. And
I'm not saying that, there needed to be a 50-50, but you could tell that I think they were cast because they wanted them as Batman. They didn't really, there's not a focus on Bruce Wayne and his life too much during those movies.
Val Kilmer, I would say, yes, you could make that argument. The problem that I had with the Michael Keaton one is they did the origin story with Michael Keaton. And part of Batman being Batman is Bruce Wayne going through his development into what is Batman. Now, once Batman's been around for a long time, there's been a ton of people who've worn the Batman cape and cowl. So you could say like, yes, the Bruce Wayne thing doesn't matter at that point. But I do think if you're going to play into the origin story of Batman, you got to get the Bruce Wayne thing right, because it kind of is the foundation of what Batman's built on. It's where Batman started. It's how he came to be. And so I do think Val Kilmer, maybe he could have that kind of approach to it. But the Michael Keaton one was the one that I just felt like they missed the mark just enough to kind of make me shake my head at it a little bit.
But you still like it.
But I still like it.
So let's kind of fast forward into whom I'm going to assume is your favorite Batman. And maybe based off of what you just said about these Batmen, Batmans,
The Bat-mance.
is probably why the Christopher Nolan movies, not portrayals, but movies, The Dark Knight or Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. Sorry, they're all in there.
So I'm actually going to blow your mind on something.
Uh-oh.
Christopher Nolan Batman was not my favorite Batman. The way in which Christopher Nolan told the story of Batman in all three movies is by far my favorite
Story
portrayal
Yeah, gotcha.
Of Batman. And just to go through it quickly, I loved the way that he did the first movie, the origin story, all of that stuff. I loved Jim Gordon in those movies.
I thought they were cast very
well. Oh my
well.
gosh, could not have done better. Could not have done better. The second movie, and this goes into the Joker side of it, but as far as I'm concerned, call that movie whatever the hell you want. That was a Joker movie.
Yeah.
Like, that was a Joker movie. Heath Ledger stole that movie. Like, without that portrayal of the Joker, nothing works.
Well, real quick, let's kind of back it up for a second. You know, up until those movies, we've only had two major motion picture portrayals of the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
That's Cesar Romero from the 60s, which, as we've all said, is the more prankstery, like,
I just can't with this
comic
dumb mustache
with his fun mustache that shouldn't have been there.
Painted over.
And then you have Jack Nicholson from the Michael Keaton movie, but that's it. You don't have any other portrayal on a live action movie screen. So then you have Heath Ledger, which you just said, I think stole the show in those movies. I agree with you. I think by then, you know, he was able, because you look at Cesar Romero and Jack Nicholson kind of is dark, but not nearly as dark, or not as dark as he could have been or was on some of the shows and even animated movies. I would say that Mark Hamill played him more darker as an animated character.
Oh yeah,
than Jack Nicholson, and obviously as Cesar Romero did in the 60s. Heath Ledger, you know, comes on and he's like, I'm gonna completely mess with everybody with this and make him super dark.
Well, and the thing that I look at when I look at those two characters, when I think of the Jack Nicholson Joker, fantastic. So please hear me when I say this. Fantastic. Yep. So good. The psychopath side of Joker is not the thing that I think about when I think of Jack Nicholson playing the Joker. I think of the gangster-oriented, well-organized, psychopath-oriented in the way he constructed his kind of crimes. But it's not, he doesn't give me the pure vibes of just chaos for the sake of chaos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's still a rhyme or reason as to why he does what he does, and it's because he has the backstory. They built a little bit of a backstory into that story of just, I was a gangster mob boss before this, and then, you know, had my spill, and now I'm the Joker, so now I'm just the gangster mob boss Joker. And it was a great portrayal of it. It was a great movie. The way that they did everything was fantastic on it. Heath Ledger, and I said this last week or a couple episodes, I don't remember.
Every episode up until now.
Heath Ledger gave me the Joker in live action that I wanted, that I always have wanted to see, and it is the chaos for the sake of chaos Joker, the psychopath who really shows the bromance of him between him and Batman.
Yep.
And I did a deep dive into kind of the behind the scenes of things. The scene of him and Batman when he's arrested in Gotham PD, when the Batman comes in and, you know, it's about him and he's going to have to go save Harvey Dent and Rachel or whatever. And
side note, I love that scene because that entrance is amazing. It goes dark and then slam.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well,
I don't know why. Every time I watch it, I'm like, that is amazing.
The thing that I loved about it, I did this deep dive, and there's this great guy on YouTube who did this kind of deep analysis of the movie, and they showed the way in which Heath Ledger took that scene. If you actually critically analyze that scene, he goes from just holding the very slightest of smiles at the beginning of that conflict with Batman to by the end just having this manic laugh of chaos and control because he knows that he has won and beat the Batman.
Yeah, you can tell he's totally messing with him.
And that was the thing of what Heath Ledger did is, like, I literally walked out of that movie, and I'm going to have to put a sound effect over this, but I literally walked over that movie and was like, I got mind. Like, literally walked out and just could not believe the job that he did, because it was just the way that you could get into his head was just unbelievable. So going back to your original question at the very beginning of this, my love for the Nolan series
Isn't Batman, it's Joker.
Well, yes, mainly for the second movie, for sure. But it's the way I love Christopher Nolan as a storyteller and as a director. And it's the way in which he told those stories that just were kind of the most meaningful to me. That's not to say I loved Christian Bale as Batman. I love that I thought he was a better Bruce Wayne than any Batman.
Yeah. He definitely played up that billionaire philanthropist playboy.
I mean, the one where like he takes the whole ballet out on the ship. I was that's Bruce Wayne. Like that's what Bruce Wayne should be, right? You know, and so as far as like the character, they nailed it. Okay, so I don't want to say that, but like I will say, I have a small bias. People are gonna hate this too. I do love the Ben Affleck Batman. That is my favorite Batman. I don't think that he's been portrayed well in any of the movies so far. I hope that he comes back and does a solo Batman film at some point. Yeah, he finally did say that he's going to come back and do another movie. He'll be just popping in for a movie or something like that. But there's just something. There's something about the way that they built that Batman that reminds me of the animated series, and I think that's why I just can't get over it, because that is to me like there's something about that one that reminds me of the Kevin Conroy voice of Batman animated series from the 90s that I loved, that I watched every day, that just has that feel and that grab you type of thing. And I don't know. So people are going to hate me for that, but yes.
So you heard it here, folks. Somebody likes Batfleck.
I like Batfleck.
For those movies, you know, now we're getting into the more recent ones, which I guess is, you know, DC finally taking over and doing what Marvel did. You have all different kinds of people playing the Joker. I think Heath Ledger his portrayal is what caused the Joker to be I would say, profitable character as far as the movies go. Like, no other villain has gotten a spinoff like the Joker has, really, in any of the movies.
Well, and I think, wouldn't you say that because of them finally being able to nail the bromance thing in a live action film, I think that's why we're seeing a lot of iterations of the Joker now, because they're like, oh, they did it and it worked really well. We got to go and do it again because Batman's not anything without the Joker, which I agree with. Got to do it right. And I'm not sure they've hit that yet, but
I feel like both the Batman and Joker characters, at least as far as the movies go, they've kind of found themselves in this James Bond type of reiteration. Everybody wants to be the new James Bond. So I feel like in the same sense, especially since Heath Ledger did such an amazing job at the Joker and playing that side of the Joker's character, everybody wants to be the new Joker or the new Batman. And that's why you have, I think, so many more people playing the same characters in the last few years, or playing the same character, I should say, in the last few years. Whereas before, people are okay with, oh, it's, you know, Michael Keaton again, you know, we're cool with that. Or, oh, it's so-and-so again for this character, we're cool with that too, right? I think now you have these people like, I want to be the next Batman. I want to be the next Joker. So I think they found themselves in that same kind of, I don't want to say it's a problem because it's not a problem, but the same kind of limbo, if you will.
Yeah, juggling of people and
like maybe finding the right combination of Batman with Joker. Because I feel like you have really strong Batmans and you have really strong Jokers, but never really at the same time. I think maybe the Christopher Nolan movies are the ones that have maybe the better balance of the two. But I feel like you have a stronger of each, and when you look at them outside of those movies.
Yeah, and the thing that's sad is I don't know if we're ever going to actually see an iteration of Joker in the DC. Obviously, I get it that Jared Leto played Joker in the Suicide Squad. And let me talk about the Jared Leto thing. I think he did a good job. Okay. Yeah. I don't think he was given a fair shot. There's a ton of footage of the Suicide Squad movie with Jared Leto that just was never used. They botched, and Parker had a great name for it, like just kind of soft reboot that's not a reboot type of thing,
Yeah.
whatever his phrasing was. They are having to do that because the movie kind of did flop. And the sad part is I think the movie that it was supposed to be just kind of got taken over by the studio, and the studio kind of effed it up. I liked his Joker. I thought it was good. I liked that he took a really different approach to it. And it almost was like kind of the biggest combination of both Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
He's the major gangster mob boss guy, but he's psycho as shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just crazy as all hell. And there was something I liked about that. The tattoos and just the weirdness. I don't know. For what it was, I thought it was cool. I don't know if I saw that pairing with Batfleck well, as far as being able to get that bromance across really well.
Yeah.
I thought it paired with Harley Quinn really well, so I understand why they went the way that they did.
Yep.
The thing that I'm afraid of now is they're so large scale in what they've done for those movies. In the scale of the universe, it's going to be hard to go back to just Batman and Joker unless they go back and say, okay, we're going to do a Batman and Joker movie.
Yeah.
As far as the Justice League is concerned, and we kind of saw this in the last Justice League movie. I mean, this is one thing that I think is hard about the Justice League in comparison to the Avengers. The Avengers are all kind of weirdly powerful characters on a semi-level plane outside of a few like ridiculous ones. Thor's ridiculous. Hulk is ridiculous as far as strength and all of that crap, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you get into like Spider-Man, Iron Man, some of these other superhero-esque ones, Ant-Man, I don't know if you'd really say that their power levels were like above or below each other. When you get into the Justice League, like you literally have a Man of Steel that's invincible, and then you have Batman, which I know that they did the Batman v Superman thing, and that was really cool, and the fight was dope and all of that stuff. I get that. And Batman's like crafty as shit, so of course he's going to build his awesome Superman suit and do all that stuff. I'm not putting him down for that. But if you really think about it, like, there's a part of me that I'm just like, Superman wanted to, he could just like flick Batman and it would just be a done deal. You know what I mean? It would just be like, okay, you're done, And so it's just like, that's where I just don't know if we're ever going to see the Joker, because the Joker's on the Batman level. You know what I mean? He's not a true super power, super villain thing, He's there for the Batman. Like that's who he's there to play with. So I just don't know. I don't know how they're going to go about all of that. I don't think Jared Leto works well with Batfleck. Batfleck's kind of not there, but kind of is there right now. They have the Robert Pattinson one. I'm really excited to see that one with the Riddler. I think that's going to be cool.
Yeah, I mean, let's get into that. What do you see for that movie and future? Maybe even
suck. You're going to make me say it right now. I think that movie has the potential to be the best Batman movie that we've seen so far.
Really?
I think that this could be, in the sense of talking about who played the Batman the best, this has the potential to do it. But because one, Robert Pattinson, I know everybody thinks about Sparkly Boy like Twinkle Toes or whatever that movie was, but
Twinkle Toes.
Yeah, like
I'm imagining a vampire dancing ballet now. Thank you.
That was not a great first start for him, but man, some of the movies that he's done lately has been he's a fantastic actor.
Evolved as an actor.
Yeah, 100%.
He's developed a lot.
I think he totally has the capacity to knock it out of the park. I think Matt Reeves is fantastic as a director. I think it's going to have this super gritty, just kind of like, we talked about Gotham City. I think they're going to nail Gotham City really well. I don't know. I think there is potential that this could be the best iteration of Batman that we've actually seen on screen. And I'm saying this not in a nostalgia, I love Michael Keaton way. But I'm saying in the sense of a guy who plays both Batman and Bruce Wayne to the best of both things. I think he has the potential to do it because they're doing kind of the year one, that thing that Parker was talking about last year.
Yeah.
Or last year.
Which was one of the movies that got canceled in the late 90s.
I know. That would have been cool to see that come out. But this is essentially kind of taking some material from that like early Batman first of his years. I think technically they said that this is year 2 in this movie, but whatever. I don't know. I think this really has the potential to be unbelievable.
I think it'll be interesting because again, it's another person playing Batman, so it'll be another interpretation of this character, which a lot of people have grown to know and love. I think
you like more. Admit it.
I've since I've started doing the research, I've grown to have he's growing on me. Batman is growing on me, and I think even the Joker as a character has grown on me, and in a very weird way. And I'm not trying to play into our whole bromance thing. It's because of the parallel, I guess, conflicts that they have that are still somehow inverse of each other. It's like they both want opposite things, but somehow have the same means to get them. I don't know how to explain it better than that, but
I mean, I really think the idea. I mean, what you're essentially talking about is kind of a weird yin and yang situation.
yeah,
And without one, you can't have the other. I mean, that's it's a balance, you know. And I think I still want to go back and figure out, like, was that intentional? You know, when they created the Joker, was it meant to be this kind of like antithesis of Batman? You know, this you know, kind of juxtaposition of who he is as a character and everything else. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think there's so many more opportunities that we could see great Jokers. There's so many opportunities that I think we are going to be able to see great people play Batman. The thing that I'm excited about in the current phase of Batman, and let's take the Robert Pattinson Batman right now.
yeah, because we don't know we don't know yet.
Yeah,
so it's a good example.
The thing that I love, well, all we've seen. If you haven't seen the trailer, go see it. We'll try and link it down in the notes. But he's matched up against the Riddler, and you don't exactly know who the character of the Riddler is in this thing. It's, again, early years. There's not like a dude in green spandex with a question mark and Jim Carrey and all that crap. You know what I mean? Like, which I still love that one, but that's all nostalgia, not because it was actually good. We're gonna see interpretations of characters that I don't know we've thought about or that we expected. I think this version of the Riddler is gonna be something that nobody even remotely thought about, you know, and it's going to be something completely different. And it has the potential to reset the Batman universe in a way that we haven't seen before. That it actually could be like a dark and gritty Batman, but not in the same way that we've seen with Heath Ledger, not in the same way that we've seen with any of the DCEU stuff. A truly dark and gritty, I mean, it, like, literally, if I did not have the audio on and you saw some of the shots, you would think it was a horror movie.
Oh, I believe that.
You know what I mean? Like, it has that kind of vibe to it. So it's just, I don't know. I think we have a lot of opportunity to see really great interpretations of those characters in the future. And there's a lot more material that I think that they can pull from to kind of do that.
And as we discussed in the Joker origin episode, you can have many different interpretations of the Joker because no one actually knows what the real Joker is and what the real, you talk about a multiverse. I mean, he's the same. He's all multiverse in the same verse, if that makes sense. So it's like, I think Batman stays a little more constant, and you have the Joker. It's just like, I'm going to be a clown today.
I think that's why some people actually have a struggle with playing the Batman character too, because like Batman does have a moral compass.
Well, and it's you have the same storyline for the most part. Like you can't deviate too. You can play him a little darker, play him a little more billionaire philanthropy. It's philanthropy-ish.
Yeah, philanthropist-ish. Whatever.
You can play him more, billionaire. But you still can't deviate too much from that, because then otherwise it's a whole different character, a whole different person by that point. The Joker, though, the wavelength for him is so everywhere, because you could probably play both the extreme psychotic to the extreme playful at the same time and back and forth. Like, you can really do that with that character. So I think that's why a lot of people like to play him so much, because the range is there that you don't really get with Batman.
Yeah. So I think that's a good place to stop as far as the movies. We've dug into a lot with the movies, and honestly, it's so hard. We talked about this earlier. It's like we probably could do a whole cycle on just the movies of the Batman, and maybe that's an idea for the future. But the point is just I think the movies have done a lot. They've done some stuff really well, and they've done some stuff not so well. But the point is that I appreciate that we have versions of both the characters that we can be proud of and happy that it represents a version of the comic books that's true, and of the character and of the material that's true, you know? And so, I think for me, I have a real respect and appreciation for all of them. Every person who has played any of those characters, there's a respect, because I do think there is a weight that comes
You
with,
can't just come in and play it however the hell you want. Like,
yeah.
there are probably certain rules. And again, I just said you can't deviate too much with Batman. So obviously, you can't just come in and be completely billionaire and less Batman-y.
Well, and I mean, I look at the George Clooney Batman situation. George Clooney is a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
Fantastic actor. Is this always going to be an asterisk on his like credentials? I don't know if he would think so. I don't think it is. It's a fun movie. It's worth watching. There's parts of it that I hate and there's parts of it that I love, but I actually think that the villains probably did more for that movie than the Batman Robin thing. But yeah, it's, did he know that when he went in to put that cape and cowl on? That was like, oh yeah, this is going to follow me around for the rest of my life. Like, I don't know. It's hard to play the Batman.
Yep.
It's really hard. So anyways, we'll wrap it up there. If you guys have any questions about any of this, like, please feel free to hit us up on any of the social media accounts and ask us. There's a ton of material. I don't even think that we hit half of it. So if we missed anything that's like totally pertinent and you're like, what the hell? Why did you do? Please let us know that as well. And we'll try and get back to it.
We didn't even talk about Joaquin Phoenix. Let's put it that way. Like, we got through what?
I know. I will say,
and we didn't even get into that one.
I will put 2 cents out there. I'm okay not talking about Joaquin Phoenix because there was no real Batman. I mean, there's Kid Batman technically, but there's not really Batman in that movie, and that was a complete interpretation on its own.
Yeah, but you just talked about George Clooney, and there was no Joker in that one.
Well, all right, I'll give you that one.
And you just talked about Robert Pattinson and the Riddler. So
what I'll do, actually, I think this will be a good. I'll see if I can find the video that I watched on YouTube of the guy who was doing the deep dive, and he actually did a great comparison between both Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix and why they both played those characters so well. I loved the Joker. I know there's a bunch of people who. Here's my thing with the Joker. It's a super dark movie, and if you go watch movies for entertainment, don't go watch this movie because it's not entertaining. It's totally depressing, and it touches on a bunch of things that are going on, like mental health and all this other stuff. And so this, for me, is a little bit of like a art piece type of thing. This is like making film for the sake of making beautiful film, not because it's going to be entertaining and make you feel good by the time you leave the theater. So
it's funny you mentioned because those are the only 2 actors to win an award playing the Joker.
That is true. They deserved it. They both did great. Heath Ledger won it because he played the Joker. Joaquin Phoenix won it because he acted the shit out of the part, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyways, we'll keep it there. Let us know if there's anything else that we wrapped up. What is our next episode on?
We're going to be talking about something you love to bring up. I think you brought it up in every single episode. The series.
I'm only smiling a little bit.
He has a huge Joker grin on his face.
I love the Batman animated series. It's so good.
There's the animated series. There's a series from the 60s. And one thing you've also mentioned is the Gotham series that is more recent that I decided to dive into. So lots to come on that. That'll be fun. You guys have a week to catch up on all these 3 series. So good luck.
That's horrible. I'll throw one more series out there if they want to do some homework as well. This sounds kind of weird, but this is not for children. So if you're an adult listening, please go watch this series. The Harley Quinn animated series.
Oh, I didn't know
Max.
she had a series.
Yes. Kaylee Kuko from The Big Bang Theory plays Harley Quinn.
What?
Yes. I think she's the executive producer on it as well. It's super bad. It's like mature TV. Let me tell you, it is mature TV.
Well, it's HBO.
Yeah, it's really good though. It's I mean, it's kind of like kitschy, fun, stupid, but they have the Joker, they have Batman, they have the whole Justice League, a bunch of weird characters that I didn't even know existed. So, there's your homework. Go watch Harley Quinn on HBO Max.
So let's leave with this. Like, why don't you tell me what one of your favorite like movie quotes from any of the movies is?
Okay, I'm biased. This is really bad. You know which one is going to be. It's the Heath Ledger, like, want to know how I got these scars, like, whole thing.
Well, which time? Remember, he has like 3 versions.
That's the whole point. That's why I loved it. It was just creepy as shit when he did it. You want to know how I got these scars.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear that. I can hear it in my head, so I get what you're saying on that one. Oddly enough, okay, my favorite, I don't know why it's my favorite, but every time I think of a Batman movie, it's the one that comes to my head. is actually Uma Thurman playing Poison Ivy.
Okay.
For whatever reason, the way she goes, poison ivy, it sticks in my head every single time.
I would agree with that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's so memorable, and because it's just like, because I remember the scene. Oh god, it's your least favorite movie, but it's the one I remember the most. It's the scene James Gordon is like, and who are you, miss? Of course, all infatuated with her because she's done her like love pollen thing in the air, and then she says that, and you're just like, that's so sexy and maniacal at the same time. Like, it's weird, and it just
The villains.
You're right. The villains.
Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze was awesome.
I'm less confident in that one, but I think Riddler, Jim Carrey as a Riddler.
I loved it. I just don't want to say that it's awesome. I'm not sure I can say that.
It's awesome. Sorry, it was awesome.
It was awesome.
And then I think you have Danny DeVito as the Penguin.
Great Penguin.
Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
Oh, yeah.
And not Halle Berry as Catwoman.
I'll take either one.
But no, that's my favorite movie quote that sticks out to me every single time for whatever stupid reason.
Okay. Well, that's going to be our poll question then. We're going to throw up some quotes from the movies. You guys need to vote on them and tell us what is your favorite.
Or share yours. That works too.
Yeah, if they all suck, you can tell us what. You guys don't know anything. Use this one. This one's better. So I think we're going to leave it there. Appreciate everybody listening through this. I have a deep love for the movies, and this was a lot of fun to do.
This could have been a two-parter, honestly.
Oh, God. This could have been like 3 hours long if I got my way with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Go watch the movies. They're all out there at this point. I mean, if you have HBO Max, you can get a good number of them, but I think they're on a bunch of platforms outside of that as well. Go watch the movies. Just have some fun doing it. Especially it was like Batman Day last week, and I'm just still riding that Batman train, so I'm going to be watching all of that. And I got to get back into the animated series this week. So don't forget to go hit up the social sites. We're going to be trying to post as much as possible to the social sites this week. Connect with us. We're coming up towards the end of the cycle. So this is episode 4. We have 2 more episodes. We're starting to work towards what cycle 2 is going to be about. So if you guys have any subject matter that you think would be really great for cycle 2, throw that on the social sites as well, because we're starting to brainstorm around what the next couple of cycles are going to be.
And they're probably going to be just as involved as this one was. We're
going to say it's going to be really easy, and then it's not going to be really easy. Yeah. So appreciate you guys all being out here, and we will see you next week for the Batman animated series.